welcome to this new video. Today we're going to talk about PVC, which stands for persistent volume claim. So what is a persistent volume claim? The persistent volume claim is actually the volume that your application needs to function, right? So that's actually the volume that your pod is going to consume. So that's called the persistent volume claim. And the persistent volume claim can be coming from the storage class. For example, if you create a persistent volume claim, it's going to be attached to the storage class. If you don't define a specific volume that it's going to use, Kubernetes will automatically attach that to the storage class. So let's deep dive to see what is a persistent volume claim. So it's a Kubernetes resources used by application to request persistent storage from the cluster. It acts as request storage and allow application to dynamically bind to a available volume, persistent volume, right? So the persistent volume is actually a persistent volume claim, for example, like we mentioned, it's actually the volume that your application is going to consume. And we also mentioned here that you allow application to dynamically bind to persistent volume here. So in simple language, the persistent volume claim is actually the persistent volume that your application needs actually to function. So we are going to take, for example, specific example to make you understand. Think of persistent volume claim as a request for rental car. Now, a request for rental request, just like customer request rental car with specific requirement, example, sale size and feature, application request storage volume with specific requirement, capacity, access mode. Then also matching process, right? Rental agency attempt to match customer request with availability car in their fleet. Similarly, Kubernetes attempt to match persistent volume with available PV in the cluster that meet requested criteria. Right, I will explain this. Then availability, once a rental car is assigned to customer, they can use it for their need. Similarly, once a PV is bound to PVC, the application use the associated storage volume class to store data. So in a simple language, just telling you that persistent volume claim is a volume that the application need. Now, if you want to take the logic from storage class, persistent volume, and persistent volume claim for you to understand this, so the storage class is actually, in simple language, the volume that your Kubernetes cluster need to function. The persistent volume is actually the volume that is requested from your storage class. And that volume is mostly used by stateful application like stateful set. Stateful application are actual application that restore customer data. Now we have persistent volume claim. The persistent volume claim is actually the volume that your application need to function. Now be mindful that your persistent volume claim can actually get a volume from either the persistent volume or the storage class. Now, when it comes to the case of the persistent volume getting the volume on the storage class, when you define your persistent volume, if you don't specify exactly where when you define your persistent volume claim, if you don't specify exactly where your persistent volume claim is going to get the storage, Kubernetes will automatically attach that persistent volume claim on the storage class directly. So let's go ahead here and simplify this. Imagine that you have your cluster. So this is your cluster. In your cluster has a specific volume called storage class. In this volume called storage class, you are going to define a little portion. You will take this little portion of the storage class. You will call this one the persistent volume, right? You will call that the persistent volume. So let me change the color. So you will define a persistent volume here. And then that persistent volume, you can attach stuff like stateful set on it, right? Now, you can also attach a pod, just a regular pod here. A stateful set is a pod. You can attach a regular pod. Or for example, if you have a pod that need a persistent volume, and you don't specify which volume, if you have a pod that need a persistent volume claim, and you don't specify the type of persistent volume claim that pod is going to use, it will be attached directly to the storage class. So by logic, you can also attach your persistent volume here. So some people will request a persistent volume here. Out of that persistent volume, they are going to use a little portion for the persistent volume claim. So in simple language, there's a difference between persistent volume claim, and storage class. So I'm going to make another video which I'm going to explain that. I hope you like this video. See you guys on the next video. Thank you.